Welcome back to Daf Yomi B'Iyan. In this video we're going to be exploring the topic of Bari ושמא. It begins with the Mishnah in Tzadi Zayin Amid Aleph that describes a case where somebody, will call him Shimon, borrows one cow from Ruvain and rents another cow from Ruvain. Sometime later, one of the two cows, we don't know which one, died through an ones. It was an unavoidable accident. And so Ruvain and Shimon come to court, and Ruvain claims, I know for sure that the borrowed one died. And therefore, we know a borrower is liable no matter what, so Shimon has to pay me. Shimon responds, Eini yodeh, I don't know. Perhaps the borrowed one died, but perhaps the rented one died, in which case I don't have to pay, for a socher is not liable for onsin. The Mishnah rules that Shimon has to pay. So the Mishnah is saying, Bari ושמא, Bari Adif. Since Ruvain has a stronger claim, he's certain, Shimon is uncertain, halacha is Shimon has to pay Ruvain. The Gemara points out that our Mishnah appears to contradict the opinions of Rav Nachman and Rav Yochanan, where they too discuss a case of Bari ושמא. The case is, once upon a time, Ruvain comes to Shimon and says, hey, where's my mana? Where's my $100 that I have by you? Shimon says, Eini yodeh, I don't know. Maybe you gave me $100, or maybe you didn't. So Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda rule in this case, Bari ושמא, Bari Adif. Ruvain's a Bari, Shimon's a Shema. So Ruvain gets that money, gets the $100. But Rabbi Yochanan and Rav Nachman say no. Bari ושמא is not Bari Adif here, because Shimon is muchsik. Shimon has physical possession of his money, and therefore Shimon can invoke the rule of a motzi mechaveru alav araya. The burden of proof is on the person trying to take away from the other person. Therefore Shimon does not have to pay Ruvain. The problem is, our Mishnah appears to say not so. For in our Mishnah's case as well, Shimon's a muchsik on his money, and yet our Mishnah says that since Ruvain is Bari and Shimon's only Shema, Shimon has to pay Ruvain. So the Mishnah appears to contradict Rav Nachman and Rabbi Yochanan. The Gemara answers what it answers, but we're going to focus on Tosfos' question on the Gemara's proof against Rav Nachman. Tosfos asks the following. He points out, first of all, that the Gemara later establishes that our Mishnah follows the Tana of Sumchas. Sumchas holds that in a case like our Mishnah, where it's Drora de Mamona, the facts of the case are unclear, it's ambiguous. Even if Ruvain and Shimon did not have a dispute in court, we, Bezdin, would be uncertain what happened here. In such a situation, Sumchas says that we don't go by the muchsik. We don't say that Shimon has the money and therefore he wins. No. We split the money. It's mamona mutal besafik. We're not sure what happened here, so they split the money. So Tosfos says, since our Mishnah is specifically following the view of Sumchas, so what's the proof against Rav Nachman from our Mishnah? Rav Nachman could say, of course our Mishnah says that Shimon has to pay Ruvain. That is because our Mishnah is going like Sumchas, who does not go by muchsik in this kind of case. So therefore fine, it's basically a tie. Basically it's just their claims against each other. So tie goes to the Bari. If Ruvain's claim is a little better than Shimon's claim, then fine, it makes sense that Ruvain wins. As opposed to Rav Nachman follows the opinion of the Rabbanan, who say it doesn't matter if there's an inherent doubt, still, you go by muchsik. So therefore Rav Nachman says, I don't care if Ruvain has a Bari claim. A Bari claim is not enough to overcome Shimon's muchsik. Shimon has a right to say to Ruvain, Hamotzi mechaver lavaraya. Therefore, what kind of proof is this from the Mishnah against Rav Nachman? So asks Tosfos. Tosfos suggests to answer that we have to have a more sophisticated understanding of what Sumchas is really saying. So Sumchas is not saying that we just disregard the muchsik. No. Sumchas' opinion, when it's a case of drora de mamon, again, where the case itself is ambiguous, the halacha is, Sumchas says, that both litigants then are muchsik. Just like the first case of our Masechta of Shnai Mochsim B'talis, two people come into Bezdin, both holding onto a talis, both claiming that it's mine. Halacha is, okay, they're both muchsik, so we split it. So that's how Sumchas views this case. Since the case itself is ambiguous, it's like they're both muchsik, and therefore we split it. So if that's true, now we understand the Gemara's proof from the Mishnah against Rav Nachman. For the Mishnah is saying that even though Shimon is muchsik in his money, nevertheless, because of the fact that Ruvain has a Bari claim, he can take the money away from Shimon. So same thing according to the Rabbanan. Even though Shimon is muchsik, still, since Ruvain is Bari, it should take away the money from Shimon. So not like Rav Nachman. That's what Tosfos answers. But seemingly, Tosfos did not answer his question. Still doesn't make any sense. Let's think about this here. In the final analysis, these are two very different cases. In the Mishnah's case, if we're going like Sumchas, that means that fine, we agree with Tosfos that they're both muchsik. Sumchas' opinion is that both litigants who were Tzrar the Mamona are muchsik. Okay, but if they're both muchsik, that's basically a tie. And so to say that Bari could be a tiebreaker, essentially, fine, that makes sense, as opposed to, in the final analysis, in the case Rav Nachman talks about, if he's in the world of the Rabbanan, that means there's one muchsik here. So in such a case, Rav Nachman has every right to say that according to the Rabbanan, the fact that Ruvain is a Bari is not enough to take the money away from the muchsik, from Shimon. The cases still are not comparable. So what's Tosfos' answer saying here? Furthermore, what does Tosfos mean altogether when he says that according to Sumchas they're both muchsik? I mean, they're not physically holding on to the money here. It's not really like a talus where they're both holding on to it. So what does Tosfos mean by that? And furthermore, if we're just learning the Gemara and we're trying to understand these two opinions, you have Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda, and you have Rav Yochanan and Rav Nachman. How do you understand what Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda are saying? I mean, they agree that there is a halacha of a motzi mechavel of a raya. Therefore, how does it make sense to say that just because one of the litigants has a bari claim, therefore he overrides the other litigant's muchsik? The halacha is a motzi mechavel of a raya. Whenever the Gemara states that rule, Rashi in that rule will always say be'edim. You want to overcome a muchsik, you got to bring a proof that's as good as witnesses. Now, does it make sense to say that if somebody is certain in his claim that serves as evidence that's as good as witnesses? I mean, Ruvain is certainly biased here. He's a litigant in the case. How can you regard the fact that he is certain in his claim as evidence that's comparable to witnesses? Doesn't make sense. So I'd like to try to answer these questions by suggesting the following. Let's think about the concept of muchsik. Let's try to give it a definition. I think the concept of muchsik is fairly simple. The Torah says that if a litigant has an appearance of ownership, then there's a presumption of ownership, unless it can be proven otherwise. And therefore, that's what Tosfos means when he says that according to Sumchas, they're both muchsik. What does that mean? It means the following. In a case where Belitan Oseim, if Reuven and Shimon didn't say anything, didn't try to make any claim, we, Bezdin, would be unclear as to the facts of the case. It could go either way. It's a 50-50. It's totally unclear. It's ambiguous what happened here. In such a case, we say, both litigants have an appearance of ownership. They both have an equal chance to have a rightful claim to this money. So it makes perfect sense to say that they're both muchsik. It's literally like two people who are grabbing onto a talus. They both have an appearance of ownership, so they both have that advantage, that benefit that the Torah says, if you appear to be an owner, there's a presumption of ownership, and therefore we're going to award it to you unless the other person can prove otherwise. So of course, if they're both muchsik, you split it. And now let's look at what the Mishnah says. Yes, the Mishnah is going according to Sumchas, and what does the Mishnah say? In spite of the fact that Shimon has the power of muchsik working for him, since Ruvain has a bari claim, he is confident, he is certain, and Shimon's only ושמא, the halacha is Ruvain gets everything. How does that make any sense? Again, bari is not evidence, bari is not like witnesses, doesn't make sense. So we have to say that bari changes the muchsik status. It is, Shimon came into Bezdin as a muchsik. However, when he came into Bezdin and Ruvain said, I know 100% that it's mine, and Shimon said, any of that I don't know, that undermines Shimon's muchsik status. So now it's a different question. Shimon no longer has the muchsik working for him, and therefore, the Mishnah says, based on Ruvain's bari claim, Ruvain wins. And now, it's exactly the same thing in the Rabbanan's opinion. Okay, the only thing that changes in the Rabbanan is that there's one muchsik, but the same principle applies, namely, that coming into Bezdin, Shimon had this advantage that he's holding on to his money, so you should presume it's his money, he doesn't owe it to Ruvain. True. But then when they come into court, and Ruvain says, I am bari that he owes me the money, Shimon says, I don't know, that event undermines Shimon's muchsik, and now Ruvain is the sole muchsik, and therefore Ruvain should win, not like Rav Nachman and Rabbi Yochanan say. And now we understand exactly what Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Huna are saying. They are saying that, true, of course, it's a basic foundation that a motzi mechaveru alav araya, but it's not, a free thing that you have. It's not a guarantee. It's not something that you can't lose. You could lose your muchsik. How do you lose your muchsik? If you come into court and you say, I don't know, and the other person says, I know, then the person who says, I don't know, is no longer muchsik. And the person who says, I know, becomes the muchsik. And therefore, again, the Gemara says that what the Mishnah says, in the opinion of Sumchus, proves what the halacha should be according to the Rabbanan, like Rav Yehuda and Rav Huna. And afterwards, I found that the Rimigash says this exact understanding of Bari ושמא, Bari Adif, that it switches the muchsik from the Shema to the Bari, and therefore it seems that we're in good company in understanding the sugya this way. So I believe that we've answered the questions, and we now have this new perspective in Bari ושמא, Bari Adif, and we'll see you in the next video.